Okay, so you want to start with Buck? He's the first year one attacker.
You're the one who likes to talk about Buck. I was gonna say do again because I guess you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken notes. You told me you thought that maybe I was just overthinking this.
I mean, I think so. Like, it's just a simple discussion.
Well, see, but this will be good because then if you talk about it, and I'll be like, "Did you know?"
Mm-hmm.
Blah 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 blah.
So, first up on year one is Buck. He is a medium weight, which means he's got health 5, run 2. He's got an orange destroy action, which is pretty dope. Pretty good gun. At range 1 to 3, he rolls a yellow and orange, 2 red. 4 to 6, a yellow and 2 red, and 7 plus 2 red, and that's because he's pretty much got like that shotgun. So he's very good close range. And then his gadget is the skeleton key. He's got 3 uses of that, and basically in a line of sight or as a vertical action, he can place something called a hold ceiling token in the targeted space. The space has to be free, so you can't shoot on a space that an enemy operator is on, unfortunately. And basically any spaces containing the hold ceiling tokens count as entryway spaces. And you can do anything with those entryway spaces except move operators from above or below the upper floors. And that's Buck. One of my favorite operators, just because you can pair him with so many different gadget operators with those entryway tokens and do get some really cheeky moves. And even if you don't pair him with somebody who has a gadget, you can also just like use his tokens to overwatch certain spaces that you normally couldn't, like maybe this square right here, you know. What do you think about Buck?
That's basically about all the stuff that I have.
Yeah.
I would say it's good to does have infinite range on that.
Yeah.
On the line of sight, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is good, especially with some counterplay. If you have like a problematic mute, you can't get a drone through. You can just, if you're in the area, you can make your hold ceiling token, and then if you have someone else, you can potentially get around that. As you said, super good on cutting off those single doorway areas.
Yeah. Now this one actually isn't a vertical room, so you couldn't do it here. But maybe but either of these two entry squares.
Well, as long as you have line of sight to it, doesn't have to be the vertical.
Yeah,
so as long as you do have that line of sight, it's also good. Obviously, you can't make the token on where an opposing operator is at.
Yeah.
But just placing it next to them
can mess with them.
via line of sight or vertical, and then that's just great for like, I got some combo stuff written down. It's good for blitz. He can flashbang the entire room. Ying, she essentially does the same thing because you can use her deployable from upstairs into an entryway space. Gridlock just blocks all the movement and things like that. So yeah. And there's a bunch of other downside.
Real quick before you do downside, I just wanted to point this out. Like as far as putting things in front of people, like for instance, what if somebody did this little popular spot in bathroom where they're overwatching this angle, right? They're stuck in this little area. If you put a hold ceiling token right here, right, they literally can't move while you're overwatching it anyway. Like they cannot get out of that space. So
yeah, if you don't want to take that area at the beginning of the game, you just keep someone in Overwatch, or if you're trying to get in there fast and quick, just drop a flashbang and then barge in, take them out. But what I was gonna add is one of the downsides to it. Don't know. Well, super viable go both ways, but the defenders would also be able to use that.
Yep.
So you would need to be careful, either be aggressive at taking Overwatch points so that they can't hold those spots against you, as well as just be mindful where you are located. If you're playing against like a smoker, Tachanka, who can drop their overlays through.
Yeah, so that is the downside. So there's a little bit of a double-edged sword in figuring out where you want to place the tokens. But again, I just think it's being able to, what I like for instance, pairing up Buck with Flores. You drop a hold ceiling token like right here or right here, and you can move Flores in and through that intro token, blow this hallway, and usually there's some operators in here, and maybe deal damage to them, like, which you normally couldn't because there's no intro token around this area. So, he's so cool. I love him. He's so versatile. He pairs well with literally anybody. Just be careful of enemies using the same spots that you opened up.
All right. Second on the list of year 1 attackers, we've got Blackbeard. Blackbeard is a middleweight. He's got the 5 health, 2 run. He has yellow destruction rating. His short range, he's got orange red with a orange cover die. Medium range, he's got orange and 2 red with a orange cover die. And then long range adds that yellow with a orange cover die and 2 red. His ability is the rifle shield, and is a reaction. It ignores 2 damage, but only when targeted by shots. So this, I'm excited to use this whenever we can. I've like looked around and done some things. So he's a really good peeker, in my opinion. So you can, whether you have to destroy a barricade first, or if it's already destroyed and then you're just approaching a window or doorway, it's just good that you can lean, and then based off of whatever, you know, because it's a reaction, you can wait to see what your opponent rolls, assuming that you think that it's a important peek that you got to make. So if they just don't roll high, well, guess what? You don't have to use your reaction. If they do roll at least lethal, you can get rid of it, which is good. But it's like a weird way to like gather information.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like with peeking, you can, behind heavy cover through a window, you can block up to 5 damage from an attack. So you could easily tank a hit, a repost, and then kill someone, like in this scenario right here. Like if this was Blackbeard, which is pretty cool.
Yes. But what else I have? So the fact that it is a reaction, which is neat. It's a nice mechanic. But that's really good with Finka, in my opinion.
She's the one who heals, right?
Yeah. She, I know we'll get to her in a later video. Basically, the attacking doc. But that's just really good because you do only have the 2 reactions, but you can take some hits and then just heal yourself and potentially not have to use any reactions at that point. Which I think is really good. He's also with like being like a really good peeker and getting that information. It's also really good at getting those important nades down. So it makes flashing an operator who's possibly on OBJ to, you know, you can get the flash off, you can get a good smoke off if you need to. And then he's also, I seen it on Consulate. I found the spot, but he's a really good, like, what I call like a flank anchor. And on this map specifically, in the very big office room, I'll just adjust it over here. Yeah. But this space right here is kind of, or even, you know, maybe up one if you need to. But this space in particular, I really would like for him for multiple reasons. One, obviously, he immediately benefits from his long range die roll, which is obviously where he plays. So within this particular spot, you're watching 2 entryway spaces. Ideally, you would have that wall breached, So you're watching 2 entryway spaces. Even this one it's not like super bad, but you know, because you still have the chance to react to it. But like you're cutting off so much of this, and you also have cover, which could be very, very nice. So maybe you could have him here, and then he could be leaning from right there, from like the other direction.
This is also good if this is one of the rooms where the opponent decides to put one of the bombs or the hostage. So if you need to hold it, like he could hold after you defuse. Like this would be a good.
Like you could also swap them. Potentially. You know, if you had to, and now you've got line of sight like all the way down here, and you know you're still benefiting from that long range.
Yeah, no. So good peeker, good way to cover an anchor. Next up is Capitao. He is a lightweight, so 4 health, 5 run, yellow destroy action. He's got range 1 to 3, 1 orange, 1 red, 4 to 6. He's got 1 orange, 2 red, and 1 cover yellow die, and then at range 7 plus, yellow, an orange, and a red. And then he's got a throwable action. It's a fire overlay. So basically, he's the attacker's Tachanka. So he can shoot a fire overlay. Anybody in the fire overlay immediately takes 1 orange die of damage, and then if anybody enters a space containing it, they have to take an orange die of damage. I don't know. I feel like the cool thing about Capitao versus Tachanka is that he can run 5, so you might be able to get some really interesting moves off of that. But otherwise, I mean, I feel like he's mostly the same as Tachanka. He's just faster and has less destruction. Do you have anything specific about him, about Capitao specifically?
So you covered some of them, but
yeah.
He's an attacking Tachanka. He does have that run, which is really nice. I've had some games lately with just the run itself.
Yeah.
The run 5 itself has been pretty beneficial in what I do. One thing that I came to the realization more with Tachanka, but it crosses over to Capitao just as easily. But you can block off an entryway space that you don't want to watch. Like if you don't bring a claymore or something, you just, for your turn, you've got to do that. But it's just really good because you can block off a specific entryway space. Let's say, in this room right here.
Yeah.
If it's not, you just block this whole thing off, and then now you can just watch off in a different direction. And it's not a 110% foolproof plan, but if they do want to try and do something, if they have to do something, they're taking at least 2 orange dies worth of damage, assuming that does really good. And then
something else that I learned last night playing against Civ is that I always think about overlays as ways to block off areas. Like, oh, I don't want anybody to enter, so I block this off so they won't move through. But I think it's just as viable to use it to shoot at somebody, an operator who's already activated, or so they just immediately take some damage, right? Like, even if you're not blocking anything, the fact that you could potentially deal 3 damage to this Capcan right here is super good. In fact, that's like the biggest reason I lost is because Civ just threw a bunch of overlays at me after I had already activated, and I just took damage, over like 2 rounds. And by the time I could use them, they had like 1 health left. So
yeah, he's his ability is a really good follow-up to both a smoke grenade or a flash. As long as you position those overlays in the correct way, that way that you're not overlapping. But it's just good that you have an operator who activates before him, toss in the flashbang, toss in the smoke, whichever, and then you follow up with his ability.
Yeah.
And it just definitely does a lot of work if you're able to pull this off on a defensive operator who has not yet activated.
And
so now you can force them to do.
It's a throwable, whatever. So it's up to 6, and you're probably throwing that at medium range. And because his gun is so good at medium range, being able to hit him with a fire, and then you'll probably be able to easily finish them off with his gun if you want to as well. His gun is really good at that medium range, and it goes well with the throwable aspect of him.
Yeah, he's the only downsides really to him, countered by Jaeger and Wamai.
Yeah,
but that's really it. Other than that, I think
that's why you bring IQ. Really so you just tell Jaeger to go screw himself, basically.
Yep.
All right, up next is Hibana. You want to talk about Hibana?
We got Hibana. So she's nice. She's nice. So we got another runner, which is good. They're great. Yellow destroy, not so great for a hard breacher. But she's got a not great close range. 2 yellow, 1 orange, 1 yellow cover die. Great mid range, 2 orange, 2 red, orange cover die, and then she's got the rainbow with the 7+, which is also not that bad. So
that's actually really good.
Good mid to long range. She's got the Kairos grenade launcher, which is also a throwable, and you get to perform the destroy red action in the targeted space, and she's got 2 of those. So as you had mentioned with Capitao, how his ability sort of like is optimized the same as his range.
Yeah.
Hibana's essentially the same thing, just for destroying things. I would like to note, probably one of the best things about Hibana, her gadget is not electronic.
So you can throw it through a mute jammer room.
You can throw it through a mute jammer. You can throw it to destroy a mute jammer.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That was one thing. Like her utility, yes, it is as a hard breacher, but she's a lot more than just a hard breacher. Like, you can destroy a bunch of stuff. You could, any other gadgets, ground gadgets that are just like orange destruction. It's like, okay, cool. You can just toss the throwable on it.
Yeah,
which I think is really good.
So as opposed to her versus Thermite, the cool thing is Thermite. So she has range, whereas Thermite doesn't. But she only affects things in the targeted space, whereas Thermite affects everything adjacent. So I think it's a good trade-off, being able to range. Like, for instance, I have this scenario right here. Like, you can do this thing where maybe you've got a scenario where an operator is overwatching a direction, and normally this fortified wall would completely block you off from doing any flanking. But all you have to do is just use one of her gadgets to blow this wall. Let's say, even if she dies from the repost, because Captain isn't moving anywhere, that leaves you so much room to just immediately move in and not have to worry, with a different operator, and then clear out a room. Like, in this specific room, I think that's a pretty good example of a way to use her ability, is being able to breach something from range and then flank, I think.
Yeah, that'd be really good. I'd like to add to your Thermite bit. Obviously with Thermite, he's got the big boom, so he just destroys everything around it, which it's great because you're getting rid of so much utility.
Yeah.
But then it's not great because you're creating so many more avenues of lines of sight, potential late game flanks and stuff like that.
Yep.
But for her,
it's very targeted.
Very targeted. It's surgical. So, in the event that we'll use consulate. I know we play against some people who like to put a reinforced wall on this objective wall, and then if this hatch is blown open, well then, or if this hatch is fortified, you can just use an X Kairos. Get rid of this. You keep the wall intact,
here so defenders can't come this way.
And now they can't do anything.
And now you only have to overwatch these two areas. Yeah, that's a good. I know people are so tempted by Thermite's big booms, but that's a good way of explaining why he might not always be the best. Because remember, the defenders do not have any red destroy actions, so sometimes you want to be able to leave some of these up for when you have to defend like a bomb site afterward, and she allows you to do that.
In fact, the defenders do have a red destroy action, but we will get to that later.
Okay. The Rex, now we're going into year 1 defender operators, and the first one up is Frost. Oh, yes, more trap operators. My absolute favorite. Frost is another medium weight, so she's got the run 2, health 5, a yellow destroy action, pretty standard. She's got the rainbow at range 1 to 3, a yellow, orange, and red. At medium range, she's got 2 yellow and 2 red. One of those yellow is a cover die. So, okay, she's better at closer range because she's got that shotgun, and then she's really bad at long range, 2 yellow and 1 red. I mean, you could still kill someone with that, so it's not terrible, but it's not that great. But she has 2 reactions called the welcome mats. After entering a space adjacent to an obstacle, an opposing operator sustains 2 damage, and the opposing operator can spend an extra action to ignore the effect. Okay, so
good old trapper. I've made it no secret that my ideal team is just 5 trappers, because that cover different things. So you mix it with Capkin, somebody can't go through a door or windows. Now they also have to try and avoid, entering adjacent obstacles, and we'll talk about Legion in a second. He'll hit people for going to entryway spaces, and suddenly when you have 5 operators like these, like, the attackers literally can't go anywhere without taking a bunch of damage or losing actions, which is what you want to do as a defender, is waste time. And so, I mean, she's just a good trapper, and she's really good at close range, which is what you want from a defender anyway. Do you have any additional thoughts on her? Oh, I have a couple.
Okay.
I have a couple.
Hit me with
Obviously, we know it's going to be a big deal to try out the Team Trapper.
I can't wait.
Whenever we get around to it.
Yeah.
But one thing that I would like to point out specifically about her is the keyword obstacle in her reaction.
Yep.
Tactical inventory shields and Goyo shields are obstacles.
So you can even pair it with other operators who place obstacles, which makes it even better.
I believe so, and I hope so. But yeah, that's just good. So even just Frost and Goyo, like there you go. You got two traps, and then they move into that one space right next to just a Goyo shield. You can just trigger both of them, and they have no actions. And then just off a Goyo, they potentially take some damage.
Even the basic deployable shield is an obstacle. So like you could just pepper the map with, like, if you took some basic shields with Goyo shields, I mean, you could just cover the map and other obstacles. If you notice any of these open areas that don't have obstacles next to them, just pop an obstacle next to it. And even if the attackers don't take damage going around them, they have to waste time using their destroy actions on those obstacles first. Yeah, so it's like it's a win-win either way.
And then assuming you do pair off like that, I would say that it'd be super relevant to just bring 2 shields with a Frost so that you can combo with her ability. But then also, just some maps, you got the room that just doesn't have a whole lot of cover, and then it definitely allows you to put a shield in a space or a room that's just difficult to hold.
Well, like for instance, you could put one, like for instance, in this room, there's only one obstacle in here, and there's a lot of open space. You put like a thing right here, suddenly you're covering all of these squares, in addition to this one, right? Or over here, just some of these open rooms, you can just pair that. Like you put one right here. Suddenly you're covering a bunch of squares right here with her thing. And even if it doesn't deal damage, the attacker will have to waste not only their time to destroy him, but their destroy actions. So they can't destroy things like cameras or other traps. So, yeah, she's great. All right, next is Valkyrie.
All right. Yeah, next we got Valkyrie, who is one of my favorite defenders. So Valkyrie, she's middleweight, 5 health, 2 run, yellow destroy. She's got the black eye cameras, which for starters does have a setup where you can place a maximum of 1 black eye camera on a section of heavy wall. And then she's got 2 charges for her throwable, which is essentially just the same thing. Place a black eye camera on a section of heavy wall in a targeted space. All opposing operators in the room containing the targeted space receive a ping. And black eye cameras behave like standard cameras. So I have always liked her. I'm big on the information game.
Yeah.
In the video game, and then even in this, I try to do it. Probably the best thing about her. Well, sorry, I forgot to go over her ranges. I think she's got good range, short and medium. Not so much long range, but. No. 3 yellow die and a red, that's 4 die. That's still really good.
Plus with her gadget, you're going to be getting up close and medium range anyway.
Yeah.
All the time.
So the thing that I like about her ability is that it's an immediate ping. It's not like, especially like involved with like a camera, like it is an immediate thing. So if they have 2 or 3 operators in a room, and if you are able to toss that black eye in a space in that room, then they're just all marked up.
Yeah,
which is really good, for like the wall banging.
Like if they breach this room pretty well, all you have to do is just from let's just say this is a Capkin, or this is a Valkyrie. All you have to do is just toss something right here, and they're immediately pinged. And if you have someone here,
toss it right there. You've got you still have some extra movement potentially,
Pulse
or you have other operators.
Above, once they're located.
Yes, that's good. I was gonna add to that. Like that's also really good with pulse. Granted, if they are in a non-vertical room, that doesn't like really benefit him. But you can cover 10 rooms total with Valkyrie, your basic cams, and your bulletproofs. That's 2/3 of the map. That means almost every single room has a camera in it.
Which is super frustrating to deal with as the attacker.
That's crazy. That will slow somebody down a lot. And then something that I would like to try, I call it the ping team. And it is basically just a collection of defensive operators who all have obviously it's in their ability, but all of their abilities incorporate the ping mechanic.
Yeah. Whether
it's pulse marking people with his scanner from the upper floor, or he's using his wave. You've got Valkyrie who can toss out her cameras. And then you also have Caveira, Echo, Legion, Maestro, Alibi, and Mozzie.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just build a whole team around that, which I think that as you like the Trapper team, I'd really like to do the ping team.
Yeah, I think with the ping team, a good person to put on that one would be Smoke, because that way you could throw down a smoke, but then be able to shoot at the operators through the smoke where they can't shoot at you, right? So if you had like 4 people who ping, and you have some people who can cover up lines of sight, so that you could shoot at the enemy while they can't shoot at you. That's a good use of the pings.
Oh yeah.
So, and the other thing is, even if like the immediate ping from Valkyrie is good, but even if they didn't get an immediate ping, the fact that an operator, once they activate again, they have to spend an action destroying a camera first before they can do anything else is good. Especially if you have another operator positioned to repost their destroy action. She's so solid.
It's just good too if you sometimes you will have a player who isn't too worried about the camera in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then so maybe for the one turn they move in, they get pinged, but nothing happens. It's like, okay, that's fine. But even just to follow up with Valkyrie and be like, well, I'm going to toss a second camera in here, so you can destroy one of them with your one operator in the room.
Yep.
Or if you have a second one nearby, they both have to destroy him, and like you said, that's good. Good action wasting.
Yep. And speaking of action wasting and pinging, the next defender is Caveira. She is a lightweight, so 4 health, 5 run, yellow destroy action. Her close range is super good. She's got 2 orange, 2 red. However, the 2 orange are cover die. And then her gun really falls off in medium and long range. So medium range, she's only rolling 3 yellow and 1 red, which isn't terrible, but you're at the mercy of the yellow die, basically. And then 7+ is just 3 yellow. So this is fun. She's got 2 abilities, the questioning knife and the silent step. The questioning knife is whenever Cav eliminates an enemy operator, all remaining opposing operators are located. And then the silent step, it's an action. From your upper floor area, perform a shoot action targeting a located operator in the opposing upper floor area, and it's short range light protection. There's a lot to unpack there. So firstly, with the super good close range weapon and the run 5, her ability to actually kill an opposing operator is pretty high. To at least sneak around and get someone is pretty high. And then it locates everybody, which is obviously good for all of your operators. But I think the cool thing about her silent step, in addition to that, is that her ability to shoot someone on the upper floor, it takes away that heavy protection thing that most like the Overwatch contesting rule allows. So often when you shoot somebody from the upper floor, you're not going to kill them because they have heavy protection. But only having light protection and at short range, where her gun is so good with 2 red, you could probably pretty easily get a kill that way. I don't know. What else do you think about Cav?
Yeah, it's the global ping is super good. As said, Valkyrie, it was like a good partner with Caveira. So if you can find those moments where an attacking operator gets pinged and then goes upstairs, that's just good. You've got the run, so there's typically no way that you're not going to be able to get her back upstairs, unless your upper floor is just occupied. It's tough her having like the 4 health, but you could, because most of the time for your close range, most of the time it's going to be pretty hard to do that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty okay with like the medium range, but it's probably a lot better to use her instead of just getting that like insta kill. To try and use her with like other operators who can do some like chip damage, so that finally, whenever she does get the kill, everybody's like chipped away a little bit. We've all played games where none of our operators get touched. We've played games where all of our operators have some bit of damage on them and whatnot. So like even just if you are trying to use her at the long range, you can at least get like a ping on somebody, and then maybe you can have another operator follow up on that. So even if she doesn't get the kill, maybe you can still get it.
I also think, while you're talking about that, looking at the 10 sprint, a lot of people don't do this, even though it's a totally viable strategy, is that you don't get... A defender, unlike the video game, doesn't get located when they walk outside. So I think the way you could pretty easily flank with Cav is you use her and her 10 sprint to be able to sprint around rooms from the outside and hit somebody from behind, right? Like, I think that could be a good use. So I did not think of that. Yeah, so... you could move
run outside of a window and back into the same room.
You could. I've counted from here. You can move over to this window, and then boom, if you could shoot an operator from behind, that's a pretty good way to use her sprint and get a kill. You can't quite make it from this window to this window all the way, but you can get pretty close. You can easily get someone, especially if they're hiding outside this way, right? But I think that's what you want to do. You can use her to wrap around windows on the outside and hit an attacker from behind when they're not expecting it, right? You could run from the bathroom over here, get someone from behind. There's a lot of applications, and on Clubhouse there's a bunch of areas outside that you could use her in. So
yeah, and that could be good. You could, assuming that you can get in with the close range, if you are able to get rid of the attacking operator's cover, like that's really good. That basically guarantees you the win, or not a win. It guarantees you a kill, which guarantees you the global ping, which is good. And then I do like how you pointed out for the silent step. Granted, it does have some restrictions to it, but just from the upper floor, it changes that heavy protection to light protection, which is really good. And then even that, that person would still be pinged, if you could do it without the restrictions. It's just good that they would receive a ping after that. So probably really good if you find yourself in that situation, target an operator who just hasn't been activated yet. And then now it's kind of like, what do they want to do? Do you want to move them down with all these unbroken barricades and walls that can be shot through? Yeah. So she's gonna be an interesting one to play.
I think she and Pulse really complement each other because they can locate both people, and either of them can target somebody from above downstairs or from above to the other upstairs. Like they could help complement each other in that way.
There is, as Pulse has it, and there are a few other, she does have the double shoot, which is
really
that's crazy. So yeah,
but she's weak. So once somebody gets the drop on her, she's probably going to go down. So you want to make sure you get the most out of her before that happens. All right, up next is Echo.
All right, Echo, another one of my favorite defenders, just because it's the Intel game. Echo, who is a heavyweight, got 6 health and no run. Kind of a bummer. Yellow destroy. Range, short, close range, 2 red. Medium range, yellow and 2 red. And long range, yellow, orange, red. I'm not really upset about any of it. His ability is the Yokai ultrasonic drones. Just a regular drone with added benefit. On completing a scan, all opposing located operators in the scanned room receive a stun. And he's got 2 of those. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm really into it. It is good having another defender actually have access to drones. Which is good, and the fact that they all receive a stun, it's pretty similar to like a weird defensive blitz. Obviously blitz flashes, but Echo uses like the ultrasonic, but just like giving the stun on multiple attackers is,
and at range, pretty much, if you think about it. Almost like a range
and
blitz.
At range, it's. I mean, if you have to, you could almost think of the drone as technically having 10 movement. Obviously, Echo can't run, so you need to play him as an anchor, either on site or very, very close to site. But if you can use the rest of your team to complement him and his ability, his drone basically has 10 movement, which is really good. You know, you can run your normal 5, then you can do your drone. I lied. You get 6 movement because the deployable happens in an adjacent space. So you have 11 movement drone, essentially. But even that's just good. You know, if you can get even just one operator in a room, as long as you can stun them, and then that just makes it so much safer for the rest of your team to like move in and secure the kill.
Yeah, I think a good way to use him would be to, as opposed to an anchor, maybe putting him in a room adjacent to a site, because if the attackers do that thing where they get in and they have like 2 to 3 like holding the whole room, being able to you don't even have to be in an adjacent room, because like you were pointing out, you have potentially 11 range to be able to stun everyone on that site, and then you can walk in and take the site back pretty easily with the stun condition, especially if you peek in and lean instead to get cover. So I think he could be a good countermeasure for the attacker's big push. You know?
Yeah, you'll just with all the stuns. I mean, the
stuns, locations,
just
located.
Depends on if the dice gods are on your side or not. Because I've played where people just roll two damage on 2 yellow die. And it's like that's
what I'm saying. Like you can, I mean, if you want to be safe, you peek in a heavy cover. Like in this scenario, if you had a bunch of attackers got in here and are holding this area, you peek in. They're only rolling 2 yellow. They're not going to kill you, and then somebody else can move in. There's a whole lot you can do. You can take. I feel like a good use of it could be taking back a site. Pretty much, is what I was trying to get at.
And then they do. I know the profile card doesn't show the ping, but just because it's simplifying. But yeah, like everybody gets pinged as well, so you can easily wallbang if you have to.
Yeah. So like in this room specifically, maybe if this was still an orange, you could have somebody else over here shoot inside. So there's a lot of good applications there.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of opportunities for that.
And I'm pretty sure that's it for year 1. So do you have any final thoughts on the year 1 operators at all, or?
I want to use all of them.
Yeah, same.
So that's about all I got.
Yeah. All right, so next video we'll be doing the year 2 operators then.